Hi, I'm Phil Grande, philsgang.com. Everybody was asking me, how did I know to short forward when it was November? And it was when Aunt B was telling us everything was fine. Well, what people didn't know is Aunt B was lying to us. Because when she was raising the rates, machinery sales were down 5.6%, computers were down 8.7%, communication equipment sales down 21%. I took a look at our chart and I saw that institutions were pulling money out of Ford. So we said, let's short Ford. And we did that in November, on November 10th, because my charts told me there was a big sell signal and we took advantage of it. And you know that stock Ford has now dropped 17%. That's the return my gang has now, 17%. Don't follow any of the jibber jabber from CNBC or the Fed. Follow me. philsgang.com.
Go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-4264.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande, philsgang.com. You know, we come in the morning, we have what we call coffee talk, but we just don't sit around and throw the bull, or joke or laugh. Our coffee talk is serious. Every morning before you start out investing, we have an intense discussion on what is going on and where we should be investing, because it's all about not the money, but where you're putting that money. Join my gang, philsgang.com, and enjoy the best coffee in town.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-GANG.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande, philsgang.com. You know, it's been 7 years now since Obama ordered his Fed chairman to lower the savings rate from 5% to less than 0.25%. With the false narrative, it would spur economic growth and jobs. Everyone would have an opportunity in this economy. That's what he said. But what it spurred was a front-loading of the biggest, fake, unsustainable stock market rally of 200%. That's what it spurred. Now, most people did not participate in that rally, because people got out of their 401k in 2009. And they said, just get me out. I want nothing but fixed income. And they got killed, because with low interest rates, fixed incomes get murdered. You got to know what you're doing. If you're going to really retire, you got to be associated with the stock market. That's why you come to philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com.
Go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-4264.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande, philsgang.com. We're a teaching format. Boy, do we give good service. You know, buying a stock doesn't have to be complicated. The reason why Wall Street makes it complicated is so to make you think you need to hire them. You can do better without them, believe me, because you're not going to have those big fees. Come to Phil's Gang, where we'll show you an easy way to buy a stock. philsgang.com, where we don't make it complicated but profitable.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call. That's 877-600-4264.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande, philsgang.com. There's so much bad news out there. Let me give you some good news. The good news is you can retire when you're 65 years of age. You can live the same lifestyle you've come accustomed to, but you're going to have to make a change. And what's that change? To get rid of your 401k. It's a scam. It doesn't work. We've never seen more people pulling their money out of 401ks than right now. $40 billion just in this last few quarters, because they know it doesn't work. So they're taking their money and stuffing it in the mattress. That's not what to do. Look, it's not about the money you put away. It's about how you invest that money. And clearly 401ks don't work. But it does work here at Phil's Gang. philsgang.com, where we just got a return of over 35% in copper.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-GANG. That's 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264.
Time is the one thing that we want more of. Without the donors, I wouldn't have my Audrey. They take care of our housing. They take care of our food. In addition to the best medical treatment that my daughter could ever have. So it allows me to focus on my daughter and getting her better.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
We're on our best 2-year job creation streak in 20 years.
What are you, nuts? Who'd believe that? Let me tell you the truth. First of all, the 292,000 jobs we got in December 2015, and they told us the unemployment rate is 5%. Not true. You can't trust these people on Wall Street. You can't trust the press. What they don't count is, in December, for example, the 615,000 discouraged workers. A discouraged worker is a person unemployed, gave up looking for work, but this administration does not count them as unemployed. when calculating a 5% unemployment rate. Instead, they classify the scourge as marginally attached to the labor force, but they're not considered part of the labor force or part of the unemployment. That's why you can't trust what they tell you. If we back into 625,000, the real unemployment rate is 12%, not 5%. That's why you got to join my gang, where you get the truth and where we use charts. Join the gang, philsgang.com.
Go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-4264.
Be sure to watch the Phil's Gang Show with Phil Grande, weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on various devices like smartphones, tablets, your computer, and more. Get free access to the Phil's Gang Show right in your hands at home or on the go. Simply go to philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com and click on the Listen Live link. And we'll see you on the charts.
The stocks discussed in Phil's Gang are not in any way a recommendation or solicitation to buy, sell, or hold. If considering acting on information presented, we first recommend you seek out a competent, licensed professional for advice. Get ready for the radio show that tells you what Wall Street doesn't want you to know.
Oh, I'm a money magnet. Money coming to me. Money sets me free. I'm a money magnet. Money's coming to me.
It's your daily dose of how to manage your money. And now it's time for Phil's Gang on the Off the Wall Street Radio Network. With your host, Phil Grande.
When you look at the U.S. economy, I think we've shown that we've reached a level of strength that's quite real and sustainable.
Quite real and sustainable. Are you kidding me? Welcome to Phil's Gang, coast to coast around the country, off the Wall Street Radio Network. These people are amazing. They just come on and just lie through their teeth. Tomorrow we got the jobs number. And since Yellen has been talking about quantitative easing, everybody believes, well, she's just going to do it now. She's going to just go ahead and we're going to do the same thing that caused a 20% rally in the stock market since 2009. It's going to be, once again, another 20% rally. It's not what's happening. First of all, we got the job numbers tomorrow, and we got to take a look at that. And then we're going to take a look at this. Is it possible that we can do this quantitative easing again? I mean, is it possible? I don't think it is. And I'll explain why. But first, remember, if you want to join my gang, go to philsgang.com or you can call 877-600-GANG, 877-600-GANG. And I'm telling you, this is the time to join the gang, especially if you're in a 401k. Because people in a 401k, you are going to get crushed when this stock market collapses, and it will collapse. But first, let's go back to what's going on here. We got the jobs. The job numbers are coming up. And since Yellen spoke the other day, everybody got, just so excited. And it just makes no sense because 1/3 of all Americans don't bring home enough money to cover the core necessities. So I don't know why people are all excited here. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, when he says, again,
when you look at the U.S. economy, I think we've shown that we've reached a level of strength that's quite real and sustainable.
Sustainable with 1/3 of all Americans, they can't bring home enough money to cover the necessities. Are you kidding me? Median household incomes grew by 1.5%, while median expenditures increased by 11%. You gotta be kidding. This is nuts. And under Bush and Obama, household spending increased by 14% between 2004 and 2014, but median household income decreased by 13%. 1/3 of all U.S. households can no longer afford food, rent, transportation. 48% of all 25-year-olds are still living at home with mom and dad. This is crazy. If you have no debt and you have $10 in your pocket, that gives you a greater net worth than 25% of all Americans. What are you, nuts? From the time when Bush got into office to today, right to today, median wealth for middle-class households have dropped by an incredible 28%. The middle class used to take home 62% of all income. Now it's down to 41%. And for the poorest 20% of all Americans, median household wealth declined from a negative $905 to $6,029. And 51% of all American workers make less than $30,000 a year. And entrepreneurs, they've been the engine that fueled our growth. They're gone. They're gone. They're just the entrepreneurs are at an all-time low. You can't even get a loan at a bank. The 20th wealthiest people in the country now have more money than the poorest 152 million Americans combined. Now we got the job numbers. And we're going to see that the energy industry has lost more than 100,000 good-paying middle-class jobs since the start of last year. And just today we learned that Boeing's going to lay off another 8,000 workers. And this guy's got the nerve to come on and tell us that everything is just fine. Are you kidding? And then this guy.
Look, Steve, we can count jobs. The errors in counting jobs are very, very low. We are creating a boatload of jobs. Another month, another 200,000 jobs. That's double the growth in the working age population. That is the best single measure of how the economy is doing.
Unbelievable. Then he goes on and says, boy, we've got a boatload of jobs coming. Look, when we get our payroll job numbers tomorrow, keep in mind that payroll jobs are the number of jobs, not the number of employed people. Let me repeat that again. They don't tell you this. The payroll jobs number tomorrow. Keep in mind that payroll jobs are the number of jobs, not the number of employed people. And many payroll jobs are part-time, with 2 or more being held by one person. The jobs are in retail, in waitress, and bartending, healthcare, and social assistance. 73% of new jobs, payroll jobs, reported each month. December 2015, January 2016, February 2016. Those 3 months. According to the government, the BLS, 73 are part-time jobs. Those 3 months, 73 were part-time jobs, replacing terminated full-time jobs in order that the companies can avoid paying you benefits. And these guys are telling us everything is just great. Everything's just wonderful. We even have a tailwind.
We've got all kinds of tailwinds.
You're nuts. Payroll jobs report for December 2015, January, February 2016, are the number of jobs, not the number of employed people. And the vast majority, say, are part-time. We are told the average payroll job right now, the jobs, each month is 235,000. That's what we're being told, 235,000 jobs. However, what we're not told by these gangsters, especially the CNBC, you got to be kidding me. What they don't tell us, and they won't tell you tomorrow when we get another, say, 235,000 jobs, but that's what we've been averaging, that the job number is manipulated by 40%. 40%. And how do they do it? They use seasonally adjusted numbers. And then the BLS also uses birth-death model, using assumptions. The assumptions that new, unreported jobs from phantom new business startups created by the BLS that exceed the unreported job losses from the phantom business failures also created by the BLS, using this birth-death model metric system. So they make it up. They create business startups that are fake, and they create business failures that are fake. And they always make sure they have more business startups than business failures. This is how they get to 40%. In other words, the BLS uses the seasonally adjusted numbers and the birth-death metric system to cook the books by 40% each month. In other words, a $235,000 a month payroll job number is really just $140,000, not the $235,000 average. So it's bumped by 40% or $95,000. What are you, nuts? And they're telling us, you hear these? I played the customer CNBC. Are you nuts? These people are crazy. A bunch of crooks. That's why you listen here, Phil's Gang. We'll be right back. It's 15 past the hour here on Phil's Gang. Join my gang.
Want more information on this show? Go to philsgang.com or give them a call at 877-600-GANG.
Hi, my name is Phil Grande at philsgang.com. The 401k big lie. They tell you invest $10,000 a year for 30 years, compounded at 6% annually. You will have a grand total of $245,000 to retire. That is not true. That is not the truth. What they don't tell you is the hidden fees. There's 27 hidden fees in your 401k. When you're all done, you lose half of what you put aside for your retirement. That's right, half. And another thing, you're not allowed to do individual stocks in a mutual fund. And you're not allowed to make money when stocks go down. That's ridiculous. Would you buy a car with just forward and no reverse? Why would you ever be in a fund that you can't make money when the stock market goes down? Join my gang, philsgang.com.
Go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-4264.
Hi, my name is Phil Grande at philsgang.com. I'm going to tell you something about your 401k that you don't know. You know the 401k is a tax code? That's what it is. Here's how it worked. In the 80s, you had pension funds, but they decided to give their CEOs a benefit on top of the pension. It was called 401k. That was to shelter their income. That way they could keep the CEOs because it was very competitive. But when all the jobs were shipped overseas, they no longer could keep pension funds. Too expensive. So they shifted all their employees to a 401k, duping you thinking it was a good deal. But what they did is they charged hidden fees, which amount to about $250 billion a day, that they gave to lobbyists to go to Washington to make sure that this 401k would never be transparent. Here's what came of it.
Responsibility begins and ends with our partners and our shareholders, and that's it.
That's right. So join my gang, philsgang.com.
Go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-4264.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande at philsgang.com. You know, there's nothing worse than you're investing in a stock and during the day something happens and you don't know what to do. You don't know who to call. Or you call somebody and they just give you a bunch of BS. Not here at Phil's Gang. We value every gang member. During the day, you got a question about your stock, you contact us. We have the best service in the world. philsgang.com. You're not alone. You're a gang member.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call. That's 877-600-4264.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande at philsgang.com. Yellen came out and told us that she is basically going to pull back the 25 basis point hike that she had in December, the quarter point, because the economy is bad. Then she's going to do quantitative easing. So what does that mean? That means as the economy gets worse, the market's going to go up. See, most people think when the economy's bad, the market should be going down. Just the opposite. Because when the economy is bad, the Federal Reserve comes in, prints money, gives it to the companies to buy their own shares back to push their stocks up. Because when the economy's bad, people aren't out spending and their stock doesn't go up. This is how they do it. A great opportunity. Don't miss it. Join my gang, philsgang.com. Become part of this wealth effect. philsgang.com.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-GANG. That's 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande at philsgang.com. Listen to this contradiction.
February existing home sales down 7.1%.
American consumers, they have more cash on hand.
What a contradiction. Matter of fact, all the information you get from all the different financial programs, It's all contradiction. But here at Phil's Gang, I will tell you the truth. Join my gang, philsgang.com. You will enjoy it.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call. It's 877-600-4264.
Even if the federal funds rate were to return to near zero, the FOMC would still have considerable scope to provide additional accommodation.
Accommodation, what's that mean? It simply means printing money. What she's saying is the economy's terrible. We're going to claw back that 25% or 0.25% interest rate hike that we did in December. And I'm going to print a whole bunch of money so that we can give it to companies to buy their own shares back so they can boost the stock market higher. The problem with that money is 0%. That means that people lose their jobs. They go from full-time to part-time. From part-time, they go to poverty. That's the problem. We can't keep doing this. Here's the point. When the market is going up, it's always when the economy is bad. Join my gang, philsgang.com, so you can participate.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-GANG. That's 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264. Are you ready to make profits in the stock market? Why not check out philsgang.com or give us a call, 877-600-4264. Now, here's Phil. Stock Corner is brought to you by the Phil's Gang video channel. Go to philsgang.com, click on the video channel graphic, and check out Phil's free videos on the market, economy, and current events.
And welcome back to Phil's Gang. You know, I do my commentary in the opening of the show. I'm reading it, and again, you know, during the commercial here, just going through it again, it's got to make you angry. I mean, we get lied to so badly. So I want you to remember every job that we get, those job reports, they're all manipulated by the BLS using that birth death model metric system. And these assumptions that are ridiculous. And then, of course, they use these seasonally adjusted numbers. These guys should be thrown in jail. So every job number is pumped by 40%. And then when you hear Jack Lew come on, our Treasury Secretary, you're listening to him again.
You look at the core of the U.S. economy, the real economy has been moving ahead.
Moving ahead? Really? Where's it moving ahead? Where? The energy sector lost 100,000 good middle-class jobs. Boeing is laying off. You got 25-year-olds. Almost 48% of them are living at home. What's he talking about? What economy? He's talking about the 1 percentile. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about they should have never done the QE. The quantitative easing that they did in 2009, you only do a quantitative easing when an economy is right on its back. Excuse me, when an economy is on its back, you never do quantitative easing. You let the economy go into a recession, and I'll explain that after I go over some stocks. And that's why everybody is in such deep trouble except for the 1 percentile. You never. And Bush, then Obama, both. They didn't care about the regular American, the middle-class American. They didn't care. They should have brought the economy right back into a recession. They didn't do that. They knew damn well that the quantitative easing doesn't work. It doesn't work when you're on your back. Matter of fact, Bernanke wrote a thesis, gave it to Greenspan, and right in there he said he studied when they used quantitative easing in Japan, and he said you can't use quantitative easing when an economy is right on its back. You got to use it before it gets there. When it gets on its back, you got to let it go into a recession. And I'll explain the difference in a moment. First, let's make some money. First, join my gang, Phil's Gang. You know, every day I come on here, and by the way, I always tell you about Walter's book. We're getting closer to finding a place where we're going to do our signing as soon as I know. because I want you to meet my good friend Walter. And wait, what stories he tells me of the difference when he was running all these companies, and there's no such thing as stock buybacks and all that kind of. I mean, you had to have earnings. But this book has so many wonderful stories about all the companies he did and he built, and especially the great story about the fax machine. That is an incredible story. He's the one who got this fax machine to work. And then how the Chinese stole it from him. He was making millions and millions and millions of dollars. He's going to be a billionaire with the fax machine. And Japan stole it from him. A partner stole it from him. And he went from a billionaire down to nothing. Then he started again. Built his way back up. I mean, how many people can do that? What a great book. I want you to meet him. He's 92 years young. But in the meantime, go to waltersway.org. Please get this book. Go to my website, philsgang.com. And remember, this book, when we're selling this book, is to help St. Jude and the Vera and Walter Scheer Family Foundation. We're splitting the proceeds, so please help it out, will you? Okay, let's get to what's going on here. The gold and metals are doing well because we dropped. The dollar has dropped, and the dollar keeps dropping. The metals are the best place to be. If they ever do quantitative easing, that's where you want to be. If they go and decide to do that, you got to be in and rather than in oil, and rather than in gold itself, be in the gold mining stocks. And we already started with the gold mining stocks. And GDX is an exchange traded fund. And the best way to trade them and invest in them is, and again, just like the spiders, if you don't have time, you just take GDX and you put it on what we call the PT2. This is for people who are so busy and they just don't have time to learn. They don't have time to do. These are the people who say, I just want you to make money for me. I don't want to know anything about it. Okay? Because I don't have time. And this is why we built the PT2. We got a buy signal. It turned from red to green at $13. Today it's $21. A 61% gain, and you knew, and all the way up as it's going up, we hold your hand all the way through. All the way through. You got a staff behind you. You're not there by yourself, and it just turned red to green. And once it does that, you wait 2 to 3 days to confirm it. Then you have what we call a crossover, another confirmation. So easy, a 5-year-old could do it. And as long as it stays green, you stay with it. I mean, what kind of return? That's one heck of a return. I mean, how many people get that kind of a return? And we started on January 20, I think it was January 29th. Yeah, and today it's at, where's it today? Today's, the 31st. Today it's at, the high today was $20.57. So that's about, what did you say it was, Jared? It was about, so say 61, so say 55%, make it easy. I mean, where else do you make that kind of money? It's great for you who are busy. And you do the same thing with the spider. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to call right now, 877-600-GANG, 877-600-GANG, and use this. Try it. And for you who I know are not going to get out of your 401k, at least use the PT2 chart. It will tell you when your 401k is going to start crashing on you. It'd be worth it just for that. It'll let you know time to get out of your 401k. It will, believe me. We'll be right back after this break.
Want more information on this show? Go to philsgang.com or give them a call at 877-600-GANG.
Time is the one thing that we want more of as a St. Jude parent. Without the donors, I wouldn't have my Audrey.
El que St. Jude no cobra ni un centavo para nosotros significa quitarnos todo ese estrés, esa preocupación y podernos enfocar en nuestra hija.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we going to do this? When they told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow, they pretty much have saved us.
They take care of our housing. They take care of our food. In addition to the best medical treatment that my daughter could ever have. So it allows me to focus on my daughter and getting her better.
Hi, my name is Phil Grande, philsgang.com. The 401k big lie. They tell you invest $10,000 a year for 30 years, compounded at 6% annually. You will have a grand total of $245,000 to retire. That is not true. That is not the truth. What they don't tell you is the hidden fees. There's 27 hidden fees in your 401k. When you're all done, you lose half of what you put aside for your retirement. That's right, half. And another thing, you're not allowed to do individual stocks in a mutual fund. And you're not allowed to make money when stocks go down. That's ridiculous. Would you buy a car with just forward and no reverse? Why would you ever be in a fund that you can't make money when the stock market goes down? Join my gang, philsgang.com.
Go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-4264.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande at philsgang.com. Yellen came out and told us that she is basically going to pull back the 25 basis point hike that she had in December, the quarter point, because the economy is bad. Then she's going to do quantitative easing. So what does that mean? That means as the economy gets worse, the market's going to go up. See, most people think when the economy's bad, the market should be going down. Just the opposite. Because when the economy is bad, the Federal Reserve comes in, prints money, gives it to the companies to buy their own shares back to push their stocks up. Because when the economy's bad, people aren't out spending and their stock doesn't go up. This is how they do it. A great opportunity. Don't miss it. Join my gang, philsgang.com. Become part of this wealth effect. philsgang.com.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-GANG. That's 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264.
Time is the one thing that we want more of. Without the donors, I wouldn't have my Audrey. They take care of our housing. They take care of our food. In addition to the best medical treatment that my daughter could ever have. So it allows me to focus on my daughter and getting her better.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Even if the federal funds rate were to return to near zero, the FOMC would still have considerable scope to provide additional accommodation.
Accommodation, what's that mean? It simply means printing money. What she's saying is the economy's terrible. We're going to claw back that 25% or 0.25% interest rate hike that we did in December. And I'm going to print a whole bunch of money so that we can give it to companies to buy their own shares back so they can boost the stock market higher. The problem with that money is 0%. That means that people lose their jobs. They go from full-time to part-time. From part-time, they go to poverty. That's the problem. We can't keep doing this. Here's the point. When the market is going up, it's always when the economy is bad. Join my gang, philsgang.com, so you can participate.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-GANG. That's 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264.
Time is the one thing that we want more of. Without the donors, I wouldn't have my Audrey. They take care of our housing. They take care of our food. In addition to the best medical treatment that my daughter could ever have. So it allows me to focus on my daughter and getting her better.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Are you ready to make profits in the stock market? Why not check out philsgang.com or give us a call, 877-600-4264. Now, here's Phil.
What do you mean?
Hi, I'm Phil Grande, philsgang.com. You know, we come in the morning, we have what we call coffee talk, but we just don't sit around and throw the bowl. or joke or laugh. Our coffee talk is serious. Every morning before you start out investing, we have an intense discussion on what is going on and where we should be investing. Because it's all about not the money, but where you're putting that money. Join my gang, philsgang.com, and enjoy the best coffee in town.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-GANG.
And welcome back to Phil's Gang. You know, the other day when Yellen came out, and she said she wasn't going to raise rates, and she may take back the quarter point, and she's going to do asset collection, which means quantitative easing. The market had this big rally, and I said to everybody, don't believe it. I told my gang members, and I said, they're going to sell into it. Believe me, they're going to sell into it. And guess what? They sold right into it. And here's exactly what I said. I can't find the copy, but right here. You know, don't be a bit surprised they don't sell into this rally that we're having, okay? Yeah, I mean, don't be a bit surprised we don't go negative today. All right. And we did. And we went negative today. It was one day late. We went negative today. But that's the thing about my coffee talk. And that's why when you're a gang member, we take our coffee talk very serious. We, in the mornings, before we start the day, we figure out what's going on. What happened overnight? How's the dollar going to affect your gold? How's the dollar going to affect your stocks? How is the yield coming down in 10-year treasury going to affect it? Do you think your planner, your money manager, the guy who's running your 401k, the gangster that runs your 401k, the guy who's a dope that runs your 401k, you got the worst guy in the world running 401ks. They put losers in to run the 401k. When you had a pension, you had a smart guy. Some of the smartest people on Wall Street were in charge of your 401k. They were expensive, but companies knew if they put them in charge of the 401k for their employees, the employees would get a wonderful, wonderful retirement. And they did. So it was worth it. But then when everything happened and everybody started to ship everything overseas and outsource, and they couldn't afford it anymore. So they went to this 401k tax code that they shoved inside of a mutual fund they call the retirement fund. Are you out of your mind? If anything, when I talk about my PT2, my chart, I'm trying to reach out to you people in 401ks who don't believe it. You really don't believe that you're going to give half of the money that you're working. You start working at 25, 35 years old. By the time you're 66 years old, you will not believe. I could sit here, stand on my head, spend $10 million a day on ads on TV, and you'll never, ever, ever leave your 401k because you don't believe it. You don't believe it. You don't understand. 2% you lose. That's half. A 2% fee. They take half of your money. And by the way, you don't have money to, maybe you don't care because there's no money in there. Because they're so bad at managing your money, they don't even accumulate the money, I guess. But at least take the PT2 and use it as a tool. So when you know your 401k is going to tank, when the stock market is going to correct 10, 15, 20%, using my PT2 will at least give you a warning in advance to get out of your 401k or reduce it somehow or do something. Really. And let's talk about this QE4. I don't think QE4 is going to happen because here's the problem. They have $4.2 trillion on their balance sheet, the Federal Reserve. Here's how it works. When a economy, the reason for QE, quantitative easing, was to accommodate the economy. When the economy is starting to slip, is starting to soften, the idea of quantitative easing is to lower the rates and to help the economy along, to drop the interest rates, to buy the 10-year treasuries, to drop that rate so it drops the interest rate on a mortgage. So you go out and buy a house, buy a car, buy this, buy that. But it's while you got a good job. That's when you use quantitative easing. It helps the economy. They lower the rates to help the economy. They lower the rates and buy these 10-year treasuries when the economy is still productive, when we still have economic growth, when we still have good employment, we still have good full-time paying jobs. That's when they do QE, to stimulate it a little bit, to prevent it from worsening, so it doesn't go back on it. It doesn't go on its back, and then you got to do a recession, or you got to do a full recovery. I mean, and so what they did is just the opposite. They should have gone into a recession. Bush should have gone into a recession, but he didn't. Okay? Because he shouldn't have done QE. or Obama. But here's what happened. So QE, you print the money. You buy all the treasuries, interest rates go down, you go out and you start buying stuff. But when Bush, remember what happened to him? The problem for Obama is when Bush took office 2001, 9/11 hit. When 9/11 hit, the economy just started to collapse. So what does he do? Instead of turning around and going into a recession, he turns around and says, let's build a fake wealth effect. We'll do a housing boom. We'll fake everybody out. And as you know, what happened? And by 2008, 2006, 2008, the boom was over. People got wiped out of $7 trillion in home equity, $5 trillion in your 401k, and 4 million jobs he lost. And think about this. Bush was only creating 3 million jobs when things were good compared to Clinton's 22 million. So he was a real dope either way you look at it. But when Bush got out of that 9/11 and said, let's go into a recession. Because when you go into a recession, you have two choices, QE or recession. You go into a recession when the economy's on its back. Because by going into a recession, what you do is everybody cleans up their balance sheets. They get rid of all their debt. They're in pain for about 18 months. But during that time, all of a sudden you start coming out of recession and your economic growth goes to 3 to 4%. You're creating 400, 300 to 400,000 jobs every month. And then after about 18 months, you're out. It's over. It's behind you. And then you're creating 275, 300,000 jobs a month. But he didn't do that. So he decides, let's put this stupid housing market together. Then when the housing market crashed, it was over. Obama comes in. He's president now. And he could have taken over. When he took over, he should have put it into a recession. But instead, he said, no, we're going to do a QE. I'd love to hear that conversation because I'm sure Bernanke said, well, you don't do a QE. When you're on your back, you don't do a QE. QE is not a prescription for when you have polio. QE is a prescription for when you're having a cold and you want to prevent it from going into pneumonia. So they knew when they did QE, they had the wrong prescription. When Obama took over and Bush handed the mess, which means that, what a mess. And I'll tell you why there was the mess. Because what Bush should have done is taken the banks and he should have let the marketplace take over. He should let the free market take over, capitalism take over, and that meant all those 5 banks, they would have got rid of them, broke them up, sold their assets to the 8,000 other healthy banks. But no, he didn't do that. Those were his buddies on Wall Street, so he propped them up instead of letting us go into a recession. See, he made a mistake. Obama, when he took over, the first thing he does is he says, okay, let's go right to QE. Well, the only people that make money in QE are the very wealthy. And in the QE, what the bank does, they go and they buy all the 10-year treasuries, and they buy all the treasuries from the banks, and now the Treasury has $4.3 trillion in debt. The Federal Reserve has $4.3 trillion in debt. That means that now, if they're going to do another QE, they're going to add another $4 trillion? Are you crazy? We'll go into a depression. But here's the problem. The 1 percentile, they're addicted to quantitative easing. They're addicted to it now because now they don't have to have any earnings from companies. They don't need profits with companies. The stock market just goes up. That's all it does. So they're addicted. And that hurts you and me and every regular American on the street. And they don't care. We'll be right back. That's why you want to be a gang member. Make some money.
Want more information on this show? Go to philsgang.com or give them a call at 877-600-GANG.
Hi, my name is Phil Grande at philsgang.com. I'm going to tell you something about your 401k that you don't know. You know the 401k is a tax code? That's what it is. Here's how it worked. In the 80s, you had pension funds, but they decided to give their CEOs a benefit on top of the pension. It was called 401k. That was to shelter their income. That way they could keep the CEOs because it was very competitive. But when all the jobs were shipped overseas, they no longer could keep pension funds. Too expensive. So they shifted all their employees to a 401k, duping you, thinking it was a good deal. But what they did is they charged hidden fees, which amount to about $250 billion a day, that they gave to lobbyists to go to Washington to make sure that this 401k would never be transparent. Here's what came of it.
Responsibility begins and ends with our partners and our shareholders, and that's it.
That's right. So join my gang, philsgang.com.
Go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-4264.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande, philsgang.com. You know, we come in the morning, we have what we call coffee talk, but we just don't sit around and throw the bowl, or joke or laugh. Our coffee talk is serious. Every morning before you start out investing, we have an intense discussion on what is going on and where we should be investing, because it's all about not the money, but where you're putting that money. Join my gang, philsgang.com, and enjoy the best coffee in town.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-GANG.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande, philsgang.com. There's so much bad news out there. Let me give you some good news. The good news is you can retire when you're 65 years of age. You can live the same lifestyle you've come accustomed to, but you're going to have to make a change. And what's that change? To get rid of your 401k. It's a scam. It doesn't work. We've never seen more people pulling their money out of 401ks than right now. $40 billion just in this last few quarters, because they know it doesn't work. So they're taking their money and stuffing it in the mattress. That's not what to do. Look, it's not about the money you put away. It's about how you invest that money. And clearly 401ks don't work. But it does work here at Phil's Gang. philsgang.com, where we just got a return of over 35% in copper.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-GANG. That's 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande at philsgang.com. You know, people make it too complicated. Wall Street tells you the market cap and the trailing PE and the forward PE and price to sales to confuse you. All you need to know is, does the stock have volume? What's that mean? Energy. What does that mean? If you have people buying a stock, enough of the stock's being bought, it influences the prices to go up. Join my gang, philsgang.com. We're using charting, philsgang.com.
For more information, go to philsgang.com or give us a call. That's 877-600-4264.
Time is the one thing that we want more of as a single parent. Without the donors, I wouldn't have my Audrey.
El que San Jude no cobra ni un centavo para nosotros significa quitarnos todo ese estrés, esa preocupación y podernos enfocar en nuestra hija.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we going to do this? When they told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow, they pretty much have saved us.
They take care of our housing. They take care of our food. In addition to the best medical treatment that my daughter could ever have. So it allows me to focus on my daughter and getting her better.
Welcome back to the Phil's Gang Show. This segment is brought to you by philsgang.com.
And welcome back to Phil's Gang. Remember, sign up for my gang. And again, using the PT2 for people like you who just don't have time. All you got to do if you're a gang member is follow me. Take you a minute a day, not even that. You would have bought U.S. Steel when we pointed it out on your PT2. And U.S. Steel went up 89%, and it's still there today. And here's the beautiful thing. We'll short it when it goes back down. When it starts going back down, we'll short it, make money on the way back down. Our SPY, the Spiders, the 500 group of companies in one basket. This one I recommend highly to everybody because the fees are almost nothing. You get a little dividend, and you don't have to do anything with this. It's already up 7%. Already up. These 500 stocks are grouped together. We bought it on February 25th when it turned. We got our buy signal on the PT2. It's up 7%. Now, I'm not making this stuff up. Okay, I'm not making this up. And then we had our gold We bought on, I think it was January 29th. No, that was GDX, January 29th. And that, I mean, I'm sorry, POS, gold, our silver, up 83%. Our silver is up 83%. 83%. Our gold's up 61%. All using the PT2. So simple, your kids could use it. You've got to do something. All right, listen to this.
I think we just need to listen to the cautious Janet Yellen, who doesn't want to ruin this economy or bring it down.
No. He went on to say, oh, she doesn't. You heard him. She doesn't want to really ruin the economy. She doesn't want to bring it down. Well, she ruins the middle class because when you do quantitative, why am I yelling like this, Jay? I don't get it. I get upset. They're screwing people. Look, you don't do quantitative easing when you're on your back, because if you do, you destroy the middle class, and they know that. But let's put that aside a second. Let's go back to this dope Kramer. So he says, Yellen is speaking for the common person. Really, Jim? The common person? 1/3 of U.S. households can no longer afford food or rent and transportation because of her policy of quantitative easing. 1/3 of all Americans don't make enough money to even cover their basic necessities. Jobless claims surged more in 2 years than any other time. God, you're dumb. That statement, Kramer, is just as dumb as when you made the statement about Bear Stearns being a good bank and don't worry about it and buy the stock that went bankrupt. What a stupid statement. Unbelievable. Consumer comfort in America has collapsed because of quantitative easing. Because when you use quantitative easing, where you borrow money, you print money and you buy the 10-year treasuries, and then you buy every 10-year treasury, the government buys all the 10-year treasuries, drop the interest rate, so you go out and buy stuff. Well, guess what? If you don't have a good job, if you're on your back, which we are, Bush put us on our back with that stupid front-loaded housing market. $7 trillion he lost in our equity in our homes, $5 trillion in 401ks, 4 million jobs. So people didn't have jobs. And when you do QE, people got to have good jobs. Or otherwise you're better off doing a recession. So Obama, he knew QE would not work. He knew it would destroy the middle class. He knew that. He should have done a recession, but he didn't want to because he wanted to take care of his buddies and make sure they got rich. Instead of letting the recession be their medicine, he and Bernanke both did QE. They lied to us, saying it would work, when they knew all along it would not work. It only made the banks and the 1 percentile richer while destroying Main Street, destroying the middle class. 7 years later, here we are, 7 years later, a 2% economic growth. Are you nuts? 78% of jobs are part-time jobs. 20 trillion in national debt. 47 million people on food stamps, and more middle class have slipped into poverty than ever before. And it destroyed the middle class. And the middle class right now makes up a minority of the population. Once we made up 61% of the population, the middle class. 61% of all Americans lived in middle-class households. Now, because they went into QE instead of going into a recession, they destroyed the middle class. Now it's 40%. Are you nuts? And middle-class families are now spending, because of QE, a larger percentage of their budgets on food and healthcare and transportation than they did just 10 years ago. In fact, it's gotten to the point where approximately 1/3 of all Americans don't bring home enough money to cover just necessities. Median household incomes grew only by 1.5%, while median expenditures increased by 11% because of QE. You don't use QE when the economy is on its back. Look at corporate defaults. Because if you see, in corporations, this is unbelievable. Corporate defaults are at the highest level that we've seen since 2009. We have a wave of bankruptcies sweeping all through the energy industry. But you think they care? They don't care. This is not about jobs. This is about the boys taking care of themselves, about the boys. So what do? This market, listen to this. Listen to this, Jeremy Siegel.
I think 19,000 is still possible by the year end.
So there's Jeremy Siegel. There's this educated nincompoop from Wharton. He's so smart. He teaches school. I'm going to go out and try. I'd love to see him go out in the real world. 19,000. You know why? Because he knows if they do quantitative easing, the market will go back up. But the market's not going to go up like it did the last time. QE1, 80%. QE2 was like 38%. QE3, which they called the twist, was 28%. And then the QE3, as they call it, was something like 22%. This time, it's not going to do that. The middle class has been destroyed. So what do? Your 401k is not going to help you. You've got to retire. Everybody's looking towards retirement. So every day I come here, I say the same thing. Join the gang, join the PT2, 1 up 80, 30%. You're not going to do it. I know you're not going to do it. People don't do it. They don't like change. You're going to be in those stupid 401ks the day you die. They just don't do it. They spend billions of dollars convincing you to be in a 401k. One of the worst things they ever done to you. Destroyed you. Destroyed America. Destroyed the middle class. See, when you go back and you look, a recession's a good thing. It's a good medicine. Because when the economy is on its back, a recession forces the corporations, forces the banks to tighten their belt, to clean up their act, clean that balance sheet up. And while they're doing that, and it only takes about a year, while they're doing that, the economy gets stronger, and all of a sudden the economic growth is 1%, then 2%, then 3%, then 4%. Soon you're creating 200,000, 300, 400,000 jobs, exactly what Reagan did. And when you come out after, let's say, 18 months, you're at a GDP of 3 to 4%. That's an equivalent of 300,000, 400,000 jobs a month. Then you level off to 275, 300,000 jobs every month. We haven't done that. We've been at 235,000 jobs for 8 years. And they're terrible, lousy jobs. Terrible jobs. So join my gang. I'm helping you. You've helped St. Jude. I promise you, if you start out with just the program I have called the PT2 program, the Working Investor Program, all you have to do, and it's a program for people just like you who say, I don't want to do anything, just make me money. And at the end of 30 days, if it doesn't work, you just leave. But I will prove to you, U.S. Steel, we had an 89% gain on U.S. Steel using the PT2. Simple. You could have had your kid look at this. He could have been 8 years old, and he would have made that money for you. By just saying when it turns green, and when you have the confirmation red over yellow, you buy. And then you sell when it turns red, and you get a crossover red over yellow the other way. It's so easy. Join right now. Call 877-600-GANG, 877-600-GANG, and don't forget to pick up Walter's Way, the best book in the world. See you on the charts.
You have been listening to Phil's Gang with your host, Phil Grande, on the Off the Wall Street Radio Network. Remember to visit Phil's website at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. Or call the office, 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264.
It's up to me.